For me, it's trying to stay constantly outside of my comfort zone. The best way to do it is just to be ballsy. That has been the biggest way to get the business international. The best thing that I can recommend, talk so much about what you do to anyone that will listen. I can pretty much decide my life now. The first step to being good at something is being bad at something.
Welcome guys, this is Crafting Success, brought to you by ClassBento. In this series we're going to be shining a light on some of our teachers. We're going to be having a little chat with them about how they got started, the arts and crafts that they do, but also getting some advice for you. So if you're thinking about doing your same thing and taking the plunge into the crafty world, then you can do the same, and they'll give you some top tips on how to get started. Those of you that don't know about ClassBento, we're a marketplace for arts and crafts workshops with the intention of improving our customers' social and mental well-being through being creative. We empower the teachers we work with, helping them to grow their business organically by helping out on the marketing and admin side, which is really hard when you're a one-man band or a small business. We're your hosts. My name's Robbie.
And my name's Niall.
Let's go. Today we have with us the macramé marvel, Greater Manchester's creative queen. She does it all, every workshop possible you can think of. It is Chelsie Southern from Studio Dawn.
What was your inspiration for getting into crafting and starting your own business?
So during lockdown, when I was on furlough from my coffee shop job, I got really into plants. Don't know if you guys remember.
Okay, yeah.
Aldi had a beautiful little selection of house plants that I dived into every time I did a food shop. And my partner at the time was like, dude, this is too many plants. And I was like, dude, we just don't have enough space.
They need somewhere to go.
They need somewhere to go.
Need a home.
Yeah.
So the floor space is taken. I think we should work on the wall and ceiling space. I started making some macramé plant hangers just to shut her up, just to be like, listen, I've found somewhere to put them now. So I started making plant hangers, and then I got really into macramé. Forgot a little bit about the plants. They definitely suffered. But yeah, that was it. It was just a means to an end, and that's how it started. It became a bit more of like a mindful distraction as lockdown went on and on and on. And then I realised what I could do with it. I could do more and more, and it just, world was my macramé oyster.
So was that your first sort of foray into doing sort of anything creative? Did you do any other crafty stuff before that? Like any other disciplines, anything like that? Kind
of. I mean, I'd always liked to make little bits and bobs when I could. And I studied photography at uni and got real sick of it real
you had
quick.
the eye. You had the eye.
But I'd never really done much with my hands. Like I was all digital, I was all that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd never really, my grandma had tried to teach me to knit when I was a kid and gave up out of frustration. So that was kind of my first attempt at doing something just with my hands that I'd never really done before. So it was nerve-wracking, but also a nice little adrenaline rush,
Yeah. You've already told us about how you got started and you kind of beginnings with macramé, but when did you first think, I can do this as a business? And how did you first move into that? Like, when did it not become a hobby? When did it become something real?
So once I'd started doing macramé, I'd started putting it on Instagram, curating the cool Instagram that we were all creating over lockdown with our new hobbies. And a lot of my friends had said, I've always wanted to give that a go. I've always wanted to try macramé. So it turned from making the plant hangers to making the craft kits to teach other people how to do it, because people wanted to give it a go. I'd kind of realised when I was teaching myself how difficult it was to learn from the resources that were out there. And then after making a few craft kits, it kind of turned into, well, maybe I'll put a couple of these online. And then we got put on Etsy's homepage, and then that was the beginning and the end of that.
Big
so
moves.
Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, I didn't really think it was going to be a business myself, but the people around me thought maybe it would do well, and
they could see something you couldn't, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing though.
How quickly do you end up on the homepage on Etsy?
Within a couple of months, I think. It wasn't long. We got a boatload of orders from America that I woke up to one day.
No way.
Had a bit of a panic, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was fast for what any business would start off.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
For sure.
So you started off like selling your macramé on Etsy.
Yeah.
When did you start doing workshops as part of the business?
So the minute the lockdown ended, it turned into, we've been learning online for a year now. Yeah. People were itching to do anything social in person, and I think off the back of us all trying to learn new hobbies in lockdown, crafts was one of those things that people were just so dying to get into. So a lot of people who'd bought the kits had said, I want to try bigger projects, you know, but I want to learn in person. So I got a few kind of requests for workshops, and I won't lie, the first one I did was, I think I just looked at the floor the whole time. I did my intro without a single breath, and then I just carried on making my own thing at the front of the class, thinking that people would just carry on. Whereas obviously they needed help. Obviously.
Did they enjoy it?
Yeah, I did it with my friends to make sure that. But I got a lot. I got a lot of feedback. I got a lot of feedback from that one.
That's a learning curve, though. Right?
Oh, beyond.
So you've just told us a little bit how you got started with macrame, but you do all kinds of stuff. Like I know you do lots of terrazzo classes as well. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you kind of got into those too, and then like how you kind of come up with ideas for new products, or what makes you try out new things? Like,
so all of the eco resin things I do came from like watching TikTok.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if any of you have seen what it looks like to pour eco resin into a mold. It is the most ASMR satisfying kind of thing. I watched a few videos of people doing it, and I was like, oh my God, like I want to give that a go. And I got a kit for Christmas to kind of give it a go. It was never meant for the business. It was a kit for Christmas to reward me after a crazy year. And I was like, I am going to try my own hobby. I am going to try something outside of the business. And I made the mistake of putting it on Instagram, and that's what I was playing around with. And everyone was is this the new workshop?
Really? Okay.
I guess it is. And honestly, thank God, because it is hands down the most popular medium that we do now. And we're constantly expanding it. Like we started off making a couple of plant pots to go with our macrame plant hangers, and then it was a couple of drinks coasters, and now it's turned into candle holders and all sorts of things from there.
The whole range.
The whole range.
The whole terrazzo range.
Yeah, honestly, like inspiration comes from the weirdest of places, because we had someone ask us recently if we did paint and sip, and I can't paint for the life of me. So I was like, no, but we could do pour and sip. So then now we've gone into kind of pouring eco resin onto big canvases and making like marbled wall art.
Amazing.
And just
for others that as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think sometimes the best ideas come from other people. Like everyone thinks that they have to come up with everything, that it has to all be your idea. But honestly, sometimes people will just ask you something or mention something, and it turns into something bigger. For example, our studio is next door to the most beautiful independent bookshop, and they asked us literally last week, could we create an eco resin marbled table for them? And we did. And
I bet that looks incredible.
It looks insane, and it's 1,000% the next workshop that we're launching.
Oh, that's
1,000%. Because as soon as we did it, we were like, come on, people are going to want to have like a marbled side table in their living room. Like, and honestly, even
I need a side table. That'll be your first.
There you go.
I'll be first
honestly, I want 1,000 of them for my house. Even if no one comes to the workshops, I'll be like, fine, this is just for me now. Like, I'm just going to make 1,000 of them for me.
I literally have your eco resin pots and coasters in every single room in my flat.
Yes. Studio Dawn is infiltrated.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I've got your pots in my kitchen with plants in. I've got your coasters all over my living room. I think there's some in my bathroom somehow. They are everywhere.
Beautiful.
I've got macrame in my bedrooms.
Same. Yeah.
There you go. We're taking over the world one craft workshop at a time.
We're both going to have a table.
Honestly, who needs customers when I've just got the ClassBento tea?
Going back to almost when you started the business again, what held you back from starting earlier?
Honestly, I just never knew what I would do if I worked for myself. Like my mum has worked for herself for like 7 or 8 years, and I've always loved how free it seems and how much control you've got over your own life and your own kind of creative process. But before trying macrame, even if I said, oh, I'd love to work for myself, I'd be like, what would I do? What is it? Yeah, of course. And I also think it's so terrifying to think about giving up. You know, at the time I was on like a cushy salary, and then I was going to go from that to having to like basically build myself up from nothing. So
scary.
It's a very big leap.
100%. Because even when I started my business, I still worked in my other job for a year before I quit, because I was so terrified of doing it. And to be honest, like, I think lockdown was the catalyst for me starting my business. Like, I don't think I would have had the time to dedicate to learn a new craft if it wasn't for that. But also, I'd say mainly just the fear. Like, I just think it's just so terrifying to take that big leap. And as rewarding as it is, you don't know what that looks like when you're on that side of it. Like, you don't know what it's going to look like when you do it. So, yeah, scary but worth it.
Yeah, it's good advice.
Amazing.
To be fair. Yeah. I mean, I think obviously we can all agree lockdown was rubbish.
Yeah.
But it seemed to open a lot of doors for some people.
Yeah.
Lots of silver linings.
Yeah, a lot of the silver lining for that was definitely having the time to hone a new craft, because I worked relentlessly as, you know, like 40, 50 hour week as a barista, which was great, but at the same time didn't really leave me any time to do anything new. You sleep, you eat, you socialize, you're back at work. So yeah, I think it was definitely a big silver lining for me being able to like dedicate the time.
We've both known you for quite a while. You've been on ClassBento for a couple of years, and I've sort of watched you go from studio to shop, starting off in town, in a cool little area in town with a dinky little studio, heading over to Stockport to the Underbanks, super trendy up and coming area.
Yeah.
By the time everybody else twigged on, you were off over to the Lowry, whilst they were making that like a super creative place and kind of rebranding that as something totally different.
Yeah.
And you opened your own shop, and now you're in an even bigger unit in the Lowry.
Can't help myself.
You've smashed it, but you're always ahead of trends. It's really, I've picked up on that. It's really interesting. How have you what would be your advice be to other creatives who are in a similar boat, who, you know, want to stay ahead of the trends, they want to get in those cool places? Like, what's your advice to having your finger on the pulse all the time?
I think to just not get comfortable. I think for me, every time I settled into something new, I feel like I kind of felt like I'd ticked it off then. And I was like, okay, what's next? Because my very first studio that you guys didn't even see was the dinkiest, mouldiest place near Strange Ways Prison.
Right. No, we didn't.
Glamorous, I know. And I shared it with like 10 other people.
Nice.
And I think for me, once I got into that studio, I think I was there for maybe like 6 months.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was out of my living room into that studio, I was like, great, I've done it, I've made the move. And then the novelty wore off about a month in, and I was like, great, what's next? And then I moved to a tiny studio, which was the one that before you guys saw. So it was the one on Oxford Road, but just over the hallway, teeny dinky one. So I was in that one. Cool. Yeah. And then as soon as I got into there, I was like, great, I'm in a beautiful studios now. And then I was like, I want a bigger one, so I moved straight across. Honestly, I just think for me, it's just not getting comfortable, because I think it's so easy to get stuck in your routine of doing things that you don't realize what you could be doing. And, you know, that's easy enough to say and harder to do. But for me, I just thought I kept pushing myself. I just thought if I stay here, the business is going to become stagnant, and I just need to keep going. So for me, it's trying to stay constantly outside of my comfort zone. As unpleasant as that can be at times, I just think it's the only thing that pushes your business that far forward.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you source the spaces? Like, how do you find them?
I mean, I don't think I can take credit for it, honestly. I mean, the first one I ever found, the one by Strange Ways, was recommended to me by someone on Facebook.
Right.
The others I found on, I think the Oxford Road one I found on Gumtree. The Underbanks one, again, a Gumtree find. And then the shop, I have honestly got to thank Nicola, who runs Flock and Gaggle, which is...
Right, yeah.
Shout out to the best gift shop in the Northwest. They've just won an award. But Nicola and Flock and Gaggle, I went travelling for a couple of months last year, packed up my whole business for a few months while I went, posted a cheeky little Instagram story a few days before I was due to come back. I was like, anyone know of a studio space, guys? And my friend Nicola was like, yeah, I do. It might be a shop, though. Yeah. And that was honestly, that was the wildest thing for us to even think about. And the place that we're in now, which is 2 doors down from the original shop, that was by total chance. We had a friend who wanted to take it, and she said she wasn't sure, and I said out loud, I'd give anything to have a space that big. No. And then I was like, oh my God, I want it. But obviously she was going to take it.
Yeah.
And then as the stars would align, she last minute said, I can't take the shop. I don't want it. And I was like, well, it's empty. Like, why don't we have it? Like, it's twice the size of the one that we've got. We can have massive workshops in it. let's just take it. Like, what's the worst that can happen kind of thing. So, yeah, it's been wild. And then I probably shouldn't say this because I feel like I'm probably jinxing what I'm putting out there into the universe. But I did go look at a space close to town yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying anymore because God only knows. God only knows if that will happen. This is what I mean. The minute we've been in this current shop for 4 months, and I'm already like, where can we get
itchy feet?
I just love. I want to be closer to the city centre, but also I love the thrill of a new project. We've made this space our own now, and like I'm like a bored housewife. Like once we've decorated the house, we need to go again. Buy a new house, decorate a new house. So I've got to do it.
It's just been really cool, like watching the journey, because I've seen you go from place to place, and then like.
In studio.
Larger
shop in
but
the
like,
but
you
chaotic, isn't it?
You always seem ahead of the curve, though. Like, even with this one now in the Lowry, I read something the other day about how they're building all these new apartments and they're going to completely redevelop it down on Salford Keys and make it into like, they want it to be like the new Copenhagen or something like that. But it's like, you're already there. You beat it again. You did it in Stockport. Now that's the trendy place to go in Manchester. Like,
maybe
it's just mad.
Me. Maybe I'm making the trend. Maybe
trend's following.
Yeah, exactly. It's where I go. The trend follows.
That's why I wanted to ask. I was like, is it a happy accident?
It's just a special skill of mine. To be honest, I think the places where, if anyone wants advice, I would say the places where artist studios are, they are usually the next up and coming places, because people will make space for artists because they know that there's an abundance of people who want those spaces, and the landlords don't really have to do much. They can just provide like an empty kind of canvas, and the artists will just move in. It was the same with Oxford Road. It was the same with Stockport and the Underbanks. It's the same with the Lowry. Where the artists go, the trend follows, because the artists will bring the vibe, they'll bring the creativity, they'll bring the something about the area, and everything else tends to follow that. So I'd say that's my advice. Find where the artists go, get in there, get into an artist studio. Often the areas surrounding those are the ones that are going to be the place to be.
That's good general advice, really.
Yeah, for sure.
To everybody.
Nailed it.
Follow the artists. Follow the artists.
So Chelsie, how did you manage to get your products stocked internationally and with wholesalers, and how did that benefit your business?
So a lot of it has been word of mouth, especially at places like markets. We've done a lot of like makers markets and art markets, and you tend to get a lot of people from little small businesses kind of come in, having a little look, thinking that what you make would fit into them. To be honest, I think the best way to do it is just to be ballsy. I sent a lot of things to people. I sent a lot of samples to people and said, "Hey, what I do is great. Do you wanna do you wanna sell what I do in your shop?"
To like shop like
just it's like small independents, like a lot of gift shops, things like that. I think that is 100% the way, is just to kind of just the worst people can say is no. So I feel like sometimes you just got to ask. But I've also used a few like online platforms. You've got like Fair and Anchor Store, which are good wholesale platforms, so you can upload all of your things and people can find you through that. That has been the biggest way to get the business international for me, is putting them out there online where that international buyers are going to be looking. But to be quite honest with you, and this doesn't seem like very sound advice, but it's been a lot of word of mouth. Because we were recently approached by Imperial War Museum North to do do some plant pots and trinket trays for their gift shop.
Well done. Nice.
Not in my general colour scheme. You know me. I am orange all over, and they were like, "We'd like some gunmetal grey." I was like, "Wonderful, I can do that for you." But they kind of happened upon the shop, and they were looking for things like that. But I think the best thing that I can recommend is to talk so much about what you do to anyone that will listen, because you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who knows who. These women from Imperial War Museum just came in and asked about some things, and I launched into my whole spiel of, it's handmade, it's hand poured, it's sustainable, I make it, it's all of our team. Not just because I love talking about it. And I had no idea who they were until they then told me. So talk so much about what you do to anyone that will listen. People might get bored, but also the right people might hear it. So
selling yourself, you didn't even realise.
100%. But it has benefited the business massively, because I talk to anyone that will listen. A lot of people listen, and then they recommend me for this, or I get a lot of emails saying, "Oh, somebody told me about you doing this." And I think you have to be your own biggest advocate for what you do, and you have to not be shy about it. You might think that there's someone else that does what you do, but also they're not you. They don't do it in the same way. So you've just got to sell yourself hard to anyone that will listen. it gets more comfortable. It feels more natural after a while.
Yeah. That's
cool.
Amazing. Yeah. Like, have you ever had much experience kind of hosting at sort of trade shows? Do you ever have stalls or anything like that? Have you been to any craft or trade shows or anything?
Honestly, not yet. It's definitely our next venture. The RHS Urban Show was the biggest show that we've done over 4 days. I think we had about 40,000 people there. And to be honest, even though it wasn't a trade show, we've had a lot of wholesale inquiries and customers from that, because like I say, you don't know who's from where, you don't know who's who. So I think sometimes you'll come across people, you'll show them your business, and then they'll go away and kind of think a bit more about it and then get in touch. So trade shows is definitely our next one, because I want to get our products in front of the big businesses.
I mean, I went to the Great Northern Contemporary Craft Fair, you know, at Victoria Baths, and that was incredible. I met so many
you smash it there as well.
Makers.
I've heard good things.
You should
about
go
this.
to that.
Okay, that might be my next one. Yeah, I want to do Top Drawer and all the big trade shows as well. I want to, because I think this is the thing. Like, I think if you put me in front of some people from a big business, I could sell hard. I just need to be.
Nice. What would you say are the major differences, like, in your lifestyle now, from your previous job, you know, having like a standard typical job, to now being self-employed and having your own business? Would you say there are some major differences in your lifestyle?
Yeah, I'd say I went from working a 9 to 5 to working a 24/7.
You're gonna scare everybody off.
I was going to say a lot less free time.
I'm just kidding. I mean, you do become the business, but for the better. I mean, I can pretty much decide my life now. I don't run it by anybody else. You know, sometimes I will get a private workshop request in Leeds, and I get to turn that into a couple of days away. I get to turn that into a little holiday for me. Really cool. Yeah, I get lots of requests from different places. I basically get to turn my life into essentially what I've always wanted. I love traveling. I love meeting new people. I love exploring. And I get to be in control of that now. So anywhere I want to go, I can go. I have the freedom to decide if I want a day off. Cool, I can take it. No one can say otherwise. I want to roll into work a little bit hungover. Cool. Tell me off. But I think the major difference is just how much of your creative outlet you actually get to use. I think when you work for someone else and you have an idea, you have to run it by them. Does it fit with their ethos? Is it what they want for their business? Whereas when it's yourself, you can just take a chance on anything and everything. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But no harm, no foul. You know, it's only your own time that you're using to do this kind of thing. I mean, I would say that my social life is probably about the same, mainly just because I do have more free time, but by choice I spend it on the business, because I love seeing where it can go. I love looking back at where we were a year ago and where we are now and where we could be a year from now. So I think that free time that you have, you do invest it back into the business, but it gives you so much joy. It's not working for someone else for the same amount of money for no thanks. No. You can quite literally like fuel your own progress just by spending some more time on it. So I think my differences are just that I feel like all these ideas I have in my brain actually come to fruition and I can give them a go, and I feel a lot more challenged and a lot more satisfied with the result of it as well.
Cool. I like that. So to summarize, it's hard graft, but it's rewarding. 100%. It's worth it.
More rewarding than any 9 to 5 I've ever done.
And I mean, your workshops are pretty social as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So it feels like you're hanging out anyway.
Yeah, I get to meet so many new people in my job. It's a dream. I literally get to socialize, craft. I just don't know what more you could want.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Where's the furthest away you've ever done a workshop?
Ooh, London, I think, which was
a nice trip down to the capital.
Solid 4-hour drive through the US.
Did you make a weekend out of it at least?
I did. I did. We did two workshops back to back and then straight back up. And to be honest, I love London, but I think I'm going to stick to the north.
It's stressful.
Birmingham is the furthest I'll go these days.
Yeah. Fair. Were they for corporates?
Yes.
Corporate.
Yeah.
Nice,
sure.
nice.
Yeah, it was a long journey.
Yeah.
I'm a 2-hour journey max.
So touching on, you said before how you probably spend a lot of time on your business. How do you manage to balance mindfulness with the stress of running a business?
I spend a lot of time outside of work consciously doing things that I enjoy. So for me, it doesn't necessarily have to be this whole go to yoga, do some breath work, do some meditation. Like for me, I will just find like a lot of simple mindfulness in my rituals. So for me, if I've had a long week or I've got a long week coming up, I will spend a couple of hours cooking, and it would be like make a good few meals. But like the ritual of making something from start to finish with no kind of time limit, like you're not rushing to cook. You're just like, yeah, man, it's me, it's my tunes. Like I'm just gonna like,
lovely.
Just gonna like cook everything in my own time. There's no rush, and I feel like that is my version of mindfulness. It doesn't have to be, you know, this like kind of like corporate mindfulness kind of thing of like it has to be a bath or it has to be yoga. It's just, for me, it's just finding like a nice simple ritual in exactly that, you know, cooking for a few hours or going for a walk and getting a coffee. Like it doesn't seem like much, but
the power of the little treat.
Yeah, it's 100%, man.
That's what it is, isn't it?
Exactly that. Yeah, it's just knowing that time is mine, and I'm not late for anything. No one's trying to check on me. Like I'm just doing what I want to do. But cooking is always my go-to.
I think that's wicked advice for anyone, no matter what they do. Like,
because anybody can do that. Anybody can go for a walk.
Yeah. I think you've got to find self-care in the moments that feel organic. I think there's a lot of kind of marketed self-care, and you know, even a lot of
self-care shaming.
It's
a thing, man.
It is a thing, and I feel like obviously, you know, I feel like people will say, "Oh, it's easy for you to say your business is built around self-care," and it is. Like my workshops are self-care, but also self-care doesn't actually have to cost you anything. It can be something that you enjoy, that you just make sure that you're present in doing, even if it's staying in bed for an extra hour. Or I always say the easiest self-care is just an extra 5 minutes in the shower, where instead of like washing or anything, you're just stood there just under the water, just in the warm water, just enjoying it. Like self-care can be the easiest, the most free, the most 5-minute thing, as long as it's yours and it's something that you really enjoy.
Absolutely love that you've said that. I think so many people need to hear that now and like resonate with that, because there is just so much like guilt tripping around 100%. What you do to look after yourself 100%. Now, and it's like, oh my god, I haven't meditated for an hour every night,
for 2 hours.
And then you start like you're worrying about what you're doing to take care of yourself, and it becomes a whole other issue.
Honestly, if people need like one thing to start off for self-care, my go-to, if you're a coffee drinker like me, is to spend 5 minutes in the morning making yourself a coffee, but being really present while you're doing it. You just put your phone down and just spend like 5 minutes, just maybe you're brewing some coffee, you've got a little mocha pot or an espresso machine or whatever, or a cafetiere.
Grinding beans.
You're grinding it. You're stirring the coffee and you're smelling it. You're seeing how it looks. Like, it sounds so silly, but just paying attention to this little ritual that you maybe do without thinking or paying any attention to it every day. Just understanding that this isn't just making a cup of coffee, this is doing something nice for yourself. I am preparing this cup of coffee just for me because I want it and I enjoy it. And it's just this like nice little act of service for yourself. And then I think when you get the kick out of how nice it is to do that for yourself, you start to work that into other aspects of your life and like really like be present in how nice this thing is that you are doing just for you.
I love that.
Wholesome.
So we've already covered this a little bit in some of the other things we spoke about, but if you had to give someone some direct advice, if they were to leave their 9 to 5 or their everyday job, they wanted to jump into starting their own business, they wanted to do something creative, what would your top tips be, your direct advice? What would you say?
I'd say if you're wanting to start something, I would say, first of all, don't wait, which sounds like vague advice, but what I mean is if you're wanting to leave your job to do something else, do the little things that you can do first before you quit your job. Simple things like set up your Instagram, and don't stress about the name. You can change that later, but just get a profile set up, get some sort of notes down about just give yourself a couple of sentences about what it is that you want to do for your business. Get yourself, set up on ClassBento if that's what you want to do. If you're going to do workshops, just get yourself
Everybody
prepared.
do that.
Yes. Best thing that I did. But yeah, just little things about having some groundwork there. Get yourself your email address set up. Get your first few products or workshops or whatever it is. Even just get those ideas down so that when you do decide to take that leap, you've got things to work on. I would say, as I've said before, just don't wait until you're ready. There is no ready. There is just do what you can. And sometimes you just have to take the leap. You just have to jump off the cliff and just trust that you're going to be fine.
Yeah, man.
Like, it is terrifying. Like, I'm not going to lie. The first, I quit my like cushy salary job, and the amount of money I made took a real nosedive for like the first 6 months. But it's always going to be a change. You're never just going to float from one thing to the other with no kind of, no difference. the difference is that if you do it and you take the leap and you might feel uncomfortable for a couple of months, when the wind picks up and you are flying, it's so much more rewarding.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it's just doing it. But yeah, I definitely would say getting your socials set up, get your USP down, get a few things about, who do you want to work with? Like, who is it? Who's your audience? Who, have you got any brands that you want to work with, any venues that you want to work with? Like, give yourself even just a loose plan of what it is you want to do. And then when you decide to take the leap, you've got things that you can action. You've got things that you can be like, great, I'm going to contact this venue. I'm going to market to this audience. I'm going to get my workshops up online. I'm going to get my products up online. Like you have things to work on. I think that makes you feel like you've got progress to make.
Nice, inspiring stuff, man.
Yeah, that's very detailed. That's a lot of advice you just passed along.
I was captivated.
I tell you what, don't be afraid to ask people for anything.
Yeah.
You need to, honestly don't, because the worst that they can say is no. You got small business friends, ask them for advice. Ask them if you can use their venue. Ask any venue if you can use their venue. Just the worst people can say is no. You'll get a lot of no's, but you'll get a lot of good yeses. So just ask away.
I guess as well, like, collaborating with other businesses is something that, like, I see a lot of creatives doing all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
I would not be anywhere without other businesses.
Yeah.
I'm currently in a group chat of about 6 or 7 other. Yeah, like, so we it's called Support Gang, and there's literally about 7 or 8 of us that all run businesses, and we're constantly asking each other questions about, anyone ever done this, and anyone know this? And honestly, the amount of collaborations that I've done, I feel like it impacts the business so positively every time. Like, I've collaborated with other Chelsie who runs Food Candles, also on ClassBento. She makes candles. We did a Valentine's workshop where we made candles and we made trinket trays, and they go hand in hand. And
Very cool.
I've like collaborated with a lot of other businesses, and I think it can only have a positive impact. And I think you both benefit from each other's audiences. You get new audiences. You get it's a bit more high profile.
Yeah.
So honestly, I just think even if it's not an active collaboration, even if it's just asking for some advice or some help. Real good people will not gatekeep. They will share it with you. And like, if people are trying to gatekeep, it's maybe it's an insecurity thing. Maybe they feel that they're trying to protect themselves. But a lot of small businesses, myself included, are happy to share the advice because we're all bringing each other up at the same time. My success is our success, and vice versa. So
I love that.
Yeah, just ask.
How did that group chat come about? Do you all just like meet each other just around like crafty places?
A few of them are already my existing friends, and it was a case of I was messaging 2 of my friends for advice and telling them that I was messaging the other one, and they were like, well, why don't we just put us all in a group chat and we can all talk about it. And then since there it's been, I've got a friend, do you mind me adding my friend in? I've got another friend. From there we've just, there's not many of us, but it's just nice to know that we've got people.
System.
We're all wildly different. Like, we're not even all product based. We've got there's me, we've got an embroidery artist, we've got a candle maker, but also we've got someone who does web design and things like that, like nails. So like, exactly that.
It's like a union.
Yeah, literally.
We've got a union there.
We can stand up for each other.
Independent.
That's so cool.
For sure.
You may have touched on this one before with a particularly gorgeous house in Brighton, but you've got a very distinctive like brand look and use very distinctive colours, I suppose.
Are we talking about orange?
How did that come about? We may be talking about orange.
I mean, listen, I could tell you that I came up with this on my own, but I was born with orange hair. Like, I feel like my brand colour has been instilled into me since birth. I mean, to be honest, it's a few different things. I mean, I love orange anyway, but I love the warmth that the kind of colour gives off. And for me, like, I've always wanted my spaces to be like warm and cozy and welcoming. And then it kind of went hand in hand with the fact that we're called Studio Dawn, which is, the start of the day. Everything's like lovely, like, you love the orange sunrise. I just wanted the business to give off this kind of like warm glow, whether it be like physical or metaphorical or whatever you want it to be. I just want the business to be like this like warm little beacon of joy. So I think orange and yellow is the colour scheme to do that. Come on. It's my go-to.
Oh, what a gorgeous answer. And why is branding important for any creative business?
You want to be recognisable. I think for me, it's so important that people can kind of associate what you do with your brand. So for me, my workshops are warm and cozy, and that is reflected in my branding, and once you become quite recognizable, I think that then leads to more opportunities for you. I am quite well known as that orange shop, and that makes me happy. Yeah. That's write that on my tombstone. That's what I want to be.
Is that your nickname in the Laura?
Like the orange shop or the. But yeah, I think it's so important to have that distinctive branding, because then it leads to further opportunities. People see what you do as a whole ethos. Like for me, if you see my Instagram, it's all bright orange. It gives off this cozy, warm vibe, and then the branding kind of reflects our values and our ethos. And from there, it's just, with it being quite cohesive, it shouts exactly what we do to people that don't know us very well. And I think that's it. It needs to be obvious to anyone that sees you what it is you're about, without you having to say much. That's your branding speaks for you in that kind of aspect. So it needs to be clear, concise, very, very obvious what you're about.
Why is it important to be sort of authentic and present yourself as a creative? Like, how does this inform your like social presence and then the branding that you use?
So I think for me, it's important that kind of I am the face of the business, because whilst it did start out as me, that we do now have a team, but people want to be able to relate to you specifically. The authenticity for me helps, because I literally started out, as we've said, working in hospitality, and I've turned that kind of career that was not really for me, that exhausted me, that a lot of people will resonate with, that into working for myself and having a little team and a shop. And I think sometimes people want to see exactly the reason why I've started my business. When I tell people I was burnt out from my job, like I began teaching workshops because I needed that mindfulness. People can see that I'm not just trying to sell you something for the sake of it. I'm trying to share with you something that I found worked for me personally. So it's not this corporate thing. It's like, hey, I found something that I feel really makes me feel good. Do you want to give it a go too? So I think being able to be really authentic in your story helps other people to understand your business and resonate with it more. And I think I spend a lot of time putting me on our socials, because I want people to realize that this business it's personal. It's not just, a faceless thing. This is me. This is my story. This is my journey. This is what I want to share with the world. And people resonate with that so much more when they can see the person behind the business and the story that person, or the journey that person has kind of been through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously I know you already, but the listeners will be able to pick up on that you're like super enthusiastic. Like that's
golden retriever energy.
Yeah, big time. Like that just comes so naturally to you. Yeah. But maybe to people who are a bit more reserved, a little bit more shy, not as outgoing, is there any advice you could give on how to maybe kind of give off that energy, but if it doesn't come naturally to them, like what do you think they could do to help kind of push it?
I think it's a lot about doing it in small bursts. So I think my mum always says to me, she never understands how I will do my Instagram stories when I'm just talking at the camera. She's like, I find it really cringe when I try and do it. Like I totally understand, and believe me, I did too. But I think it's about finding something that you have that passion for and talk about that, because everyone has this thing when they start talking about it and they'll light up like a Christmas tree and they'll be so excited about it. If you can find what that is for you, and even if it's just like, I don't know, 10 seconds of talking on Instagram, or even if it's just a photo of you to begin with, just something that shows your joy for what you do.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what people will buy into. They want to see your passion, your joy. They want to see that the thing that you do is the thing that you feel like you were born to do.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, like whatever aspect of your business, of your craft that makes you light up like that, that is the thing to talk about, because you will find it the most organic. You'll find it the most natural thing to try and talk about, because it's just something that you love. There's no script to it. So I think sometimes it's a case of filming a couple of Instagram stories of you talking. You don't maybe have to post them, but get used to doing it. I don't know if everyone knows about this, but you can do on Instagram lives, you can do a private like practice live. Like, so you can so you can go into it and you can kind of, if you want to get a feel for trying to talk to people before you do it, that's what you could do. You could put it on like your close friends story, maybe just have a few people, just getting yourself used to, in small bursts, getting your face and your personality out there on Instagram.
So basically it takes practice.
100%. And do you know what? I found a really good way to do it. You don't necessarily have to have your face on there. Is maybe you film a little TikTok, a little reel about something you do, voice over it.
Yeah, man.
Because then your face isn't on the camera, but people can hear it in your voice, your joy. Because that's, we're on a podcast. You can hear me. You can hear how excited I get about stuff. That's what people want. Maybe they don't need to see your face, but they just need to feel your joy.
That could help them to build up the confidence to eventually go on screen.
Yeah, it's a slow process. You shouldn't rush into it. Don't feel like it has to be everything in one go. It can just be little kind of breadcrumbs towards the main goal without having to throw yourself in the deep end.
Yeah, just
that's
building
scary.
blocks.
Yeah, for
you start off with the odd picture, and then, like you say, voiceovers.
Yeah.
So as well as getting themselves out there, what's your best advice for somebody running their first workshop?
Oh, God, I was terrified the first one that I did. I mean, honestly, I would say the best thing that you can do is run almost like a trial one or a practice one for maybe some friends or maybe some people that you're a bit familiar with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And just be prepared for it to feel like total nerves. Like it will. There's no way that anyone can prepare enough to go into their first workshop and not feel nervous. So embrace it. It's going to feel that way. I'd say breathe.
Enjoy the chaos.
Yeah, enjoy the chaos, but just breathe. Because I feel like for me, when I did my first one, I did a whole spiel about the workshop, start to end in about 2 minutes, and I just didn't breathe, and I think I looked at the floor. And the contrast to that now is that I will start off my intro to a workshop, I'll breathe, I'll pause. I know when people are going to laugh, it's one of those. You really you get a feel for it. But the first one is always going to be scary. The first step to being good at something is being bad at something. So you may feel like you bombed the first one, but that's why surround yourself with familiar people. Ask for feedback. Tell them that you really want to know how they felt about it, what went well, what didn't. Just use it as a learning experience. You are never going to have a perfect first workshop. I still, 4.5 years into my business, still have workshops where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like that was my best, or I don't feel like I said everything I needed to say, or the other day I knocked 2 bottles of prosecco over and smashed them. It wasn't really the vibe I was trying to give off. But use it as a learning experience. It's always going to be scary. You just have to embrace it, and just know that every single workshop you do, you will get into your rhythm more and more. So it circles back to the don't wait until you're ready thing. Just dive straight in. If you mess it up, fine, you'll do better next time. You'll learn. Every time you'll learn.
Practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
You'll end up so multifaceted. I've been and done your workshops. It is you're a host, you're a teacher, you're basically an actor, you're a stand-up, you're doing every single thing. It's performing, isn't it? It's performing.
And it's taken all this time to get to that point. So I feel like my advice would be, don't look at other workshop leaders and think that's who I need to be first time, because I guarantee you they have had many a workshop that hasn't gone well and many years on many workshops of practice. So don't base yourself off other people. No. Just try and focus on you.
Find your own flow.
Your flow is the most important, for sure.
Also a fantastic snack provider. Shout out to you.
So now you've had this taste of self-employed life, and I mean, you are smashing it. Your business is killing it. We all know that. But would there ever be anything that would make you go back to an everyday job, like a normal 9 to 5, a day job?
God, no.
No?
Not a chance.
Nah.
Not a chance. No way. Could never. I don't think I could let someone else tell me what to do now. I enjoy my freedom too much. I am the boss, and I feel like once you go from that, I don't feel like I could ever let anyone else be my boss. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Yeah. If anything, I aspire to be the boss that is maybe in Spain for 6 months of the year. I aspire to be the ultimate
dream
boss.
The boss who's so bossy they don't have to work.
I'll just be in Spain, guys. Just run the business. Just work hard. Just run the business. That's gonna be me. No, nice. I'm never gonna work for anyone else. Not ever. The only person I listen to is my dog. That's it. She's the boss. But
So apart from when you spilled 2 bottles of prosecco all over everybody, have you had any particularly memorable workshop moments with the group or the community?
Yeah, I mean, a couple really. I mean, I recently did a workshop with a little local platoon of brownies, and that was
sweet.
The most. I have worked with kids on and off in the past, but that was hands down one of the most incredible things, because adults will give you a limited amount of enthusiasm. They're excited, but they don't let it rip like kids. But working with children, which again, it's just not something I've thought I'd get into, but they have an enthusiasm like you have just shown them the entire world for the first time. So I think working with a bunch of 7 or 8-year-olds and teaching them how to do something and watching them walk away with something that they'd made themselves.
Complete lack of inhibitions.
Complete lack of inhibitions. but it's good because they don't. Adults will make something and then go, oh, maybe I could have done this. Whereas kids are like, I made this.
Buzzing. Just so buzzing.
Yeah, and another one I think is I had a surprise bridal shower. Where they'd arranged
oh, that's so cute.
And they'd gone the full works. We did afternoon tea, we did prosecco, we did a long workshop. And she didn't know where she was going. She walked in, she realised what she was doing. She already knew who I was.
No way.
Yeah, so she
How?
So because she'd been to one of my workshops before, and I think her friends had realised that, but she didn't know that's where she was going. So she comes in and she just bursts into tears, and I just
they're very good friends.
How is she she's so excited about being here with us that she's in tears about it, and I feel like that. I was just like, I'll just be a minute.
It's making me
I'm not crying. I'm just going to get something from the back. It's amazing to see how much of an impact the workshops have on people, especially knowing that this is something that started on my living room floor. And literally
no
so
way.
they could cry. It's a wild time.
That's lovely.
That's so nice. I would like to add one more memorable moment that I witnessed firsthand when I was at one of your classes, and you opened a bottle of prosecco.
I knew you were going to say this.
And the cork pinged straight into your head.
Oh my god!
And
into your own head.
It literally, I don't even know what I did. I think I took the metal cage off I took the metal cage off the top of the prosecco, and then I got chatting, which is not the right thing to do. And then the cork was working its way loose, and it shot straight up and just hit me in the face.
Yeah.
And I remember just standing there in shock.
In shock.
You guys were like, are you okay? And I was I think so. Yeah, I think I am. Absolutely traumatized.
It looked like you absolutely battered.
Oh, it was so painful. Yeah, it was so painful. But I'm just just breathe. Everything's fine. You can't cry at a workshop.
The next workshop in mountain pushing.
Honestly, the amount of care that I put into opening every bottle of prosecco since that has happened, you cannot imagine. Honestly, I will pop that cork as slowly and as gently as possible, and everyone's just like, "Let it rip," and I'm like, "No, I've seen what happens when you do." Trauma.
Be careful opening prosecco, guys. We've seen it here. Just hand, okay, don't do it.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Well, anyway, thanks very much for joining us, Chelsie. It's been an absolute joy chatting with you, getting all that amazing tips. And I'm sure it'll be very inspiring to quite a lot of people.
It's been nice to reminisce.
It's always a pleasure to see you, Chelsie. And everybody check out Chelsea's classes on ClassBento. They're absolutely wicked. I'm not just saying that. We've both done them loads. She smashes it.
Sick of the sight of you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers, Chelsie.